easy keto bread and low carb bread recipe on today's episode. Hi friends, how to make keto bread today. We're going to make a delicious recipe for home cooking for you that is so simple. A special thank you to Ketonia bread mix for sponsoring today's video and making this easy keto recipe and low carb recipe possible to do from our own kitchen. So let's go ahead and dive into our ingredients. First and foremost, you're going to need Ketonia's keto bread mix, which I will link down below. It is the easiest keto bread mix I've ever worked with, and I've personally worked with lots of them. Super simple to make, and the ingredients are minimal to be able to make this delicious low carb bread. So you're going to need 1 cup of warm water, and then you're also going to need active yeast, 1 tablespoon of active yeast. And then you're just going to go ahead and put that in the warm water, let that sit for 5 minutes. You're also going to go ahead and add 1 tablespoon of honey to the recipe and let that sit as well. It's just going to kind of hang out for about 5 minutes together while all of the active yeast gets excited and makes its active yeast self. And so while I'm doing this, I'm also prepping my other ingredients on the back end too, because this is so simple. After this sits for 5 minutes, I am going to need 2 eggs that I'll go ahead and mix into my bread mix. And you're going to go ahead and stir this all about like the hokey pokey. Stir your eggs in, and then next you're going to go ahead and open up your Ketonia keto bread mix. Sometimes I half the recipe. I don't use the full, I'll make a full amount with this portion and then freeze the other half, and sometimes I'll make the full loaf depending. So depending on how many people you're feeding, you can half the loaf or you can use the full loaf. And you need to knead the dough for about 10 to 15 minutes and let it sit. And we're going to let it sit again so it makes this ball, and it's going to make the yeast actually rise by letting it sit with a covered towel over it. Then we're going to go ahead and come back after it's been sitting, spray your pan with some ghee oil. And while we're doing this, we're going to go ahead and put our little dough ball into that sprayed pan and let it sit again for another 30 minutes with a towel on top so the yeast can rise with it and get nice and fluffy. And you can totally shape your keto bread loaf into your pan. This great low carb recipe is really simple because the dough is so pliable. I've done other videos that I'll link down below in the playlist for garlic knots, pizza crust, and it's all keto and low carb approved. It's really simple to make these keto recipes. So we're going to come back after 30 minutes, take our awesome little dough loaf of our keto bread. It has risen because of the active yeast in it. We're going to go ahead and preheat our oven to 400 degrees and cook the bread for 20 minutes with it. You could put a little bit of butter on top before cooking it, or spray it with a little bit of garlic powder if you wanted some garlic bread on there. But this loaf is awesome. I usually let it cool for about 10 minutes or so in the pan, and then I will flip it over to slice my bread, and I can make sandwich bread out of this. It's great keto bread and low carb bread. Ketonia bread mix truly is the best and is the easiest. This loaf you can eat within a couple of days, or what we sometimes do is we'll freeze the other half of the loaf after we make it, so then that way I can have keto grilled cheese or low carb sandwiches in the future without having to keep remaking the loaves. But y'all, this bread smells so good. Ketonia puts such love into their bread mix. If you'd like to buy some, it's down in the description link below, and make sure you click like and subscribe. We'll see you next time, friends.